Do you have a teenager who believes they know it all? And no matter how hard you try to convince them that they should take a seat and learn some practical money knowledge, the message still doesn't seem to be coming through? Well, Business News Daily may provide some parents with some much desired vindication. In a recent 2020 report and study, it found that only 17% of American teens knew how to accurately manage their money. Meanwhile, the report also revealed that 24% of American teens didn't know the difference between credit cards and debt. Charla McKinley is on a mission to provide teens practical and effective knowledge they can use to manage their money effectively. She's the founder of Beyond Personal Finance, a finance course, which is a beefed up game of life, which is interactive as well as informative. In one semester, for less than 2 hours per week, your teen will experience the adult years from ages 22 to 42, making real financial decisions with a budget so that they can learn how to effectively manage their money. McKinley joined me this week to tell me all about the program and how she's helped teens effectively manage their money and plan a financially responsible future. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Fantastic. So, Charla, if you're ready, I'll welcome you to the program. And I'm excited to talk to you this morning on how you help teens manage money. Great to be with you this morning. And thank you so very much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and to your audience.
Absolutely. And I want to start our conversation by asking you why it was so important for you to create a roadmap so that teens can be smart with their money.
So, I don't know about you, Kevin, but my husband and I learned about money the hard way in our 20s. We just really struggled stuff cost and how much we were going to get paid and versus actually ending up in our bank account. And so we made some unwise financial choices that I just wanted to be different from my son when the time came. And so I really set out I talked to my son. He's 19 now, but for his whole life, I'd spoken to him about, wise financial choices. My background is in finance and I'm a CPA. And so I felt like just using my words and my influence would be enough. But I found when he got to that sort of late middle school age where they start pushing back, it he wasn't doing what he knew he should be doing. With the money that he got, he would just blow it right away. So I wanted to show him uh, how expensive life would be and how it was important to manage your money so that you can afford the life you dream of. And that that lesson that I showed him, it's a very practical and tangible and hands-on lesson that I created for him. It then grew into what we have today, where there's over 800 students who have gone through the program, and they've really had their eyes open to how expensive the future is going to be and how important it is to make wise choices and not just think that one day you will make wise choices or, in the future you'll have plenty of money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been waiting all week to ask you this question. So tell me, what are the top three ways you think, or tips that teens need to know to be financially responsible?
Sure. Well, the first is to save as much money as you can as early as you can. I tell teenagers all the time, future you is going to need a lot more money than you understand. Future you wants you to be wise. Current you does not need the things you think you need. So, first of all, save as much as you can. Life is more expensive, and you can leverage the power of time and compounding growth if you put your money away into an investment account as early as you can, and let time, which is when you're young, that's your most valuable asset. When you have the time and have a little bit of money, put that away and let it begin to grow for you. Then the next step, your credit score matters. It just matters. And the decisions that you make when you are young, getting a credit card because you got a free t-shirt, uh, those things are not wise to do. Paying for things you cannot afford will wreck your credit. And that credit wrecking will have far-reaching impacts that you don't even realize. 30-year-old you will be sitting at a table one day trying to apply for a mortgage for your house, and you will be so frustrated with 20-year-old you going out and spending money on clothes and shoes and all the things that you spent money in your early 20s. 30-year-old you really needs you to have a good credit score, because that credit score impacts the interest that you will pay on that mortgage. And a 30-year mortgage with a higher interest rate than it should be will cost tens of thousands more dollars than it should.
Yep.
And then third, make sure, as a lot of young adults these days are very risk averse, just they are unwilling to. And so we find that a lot of young adults are saving, but they're saving it in a savings account. They're putting it in a bank because that is safe. A money market fund, a money market account is safe. But what you really need to do is find a trusted advisor and get it into the market. And for me, even index fund, a low maintenance fee index fund would be a safe enough choice for you. Now, granted, it's not, you are going to have to endure your investments going up and down, but you've got to trust in the general pattern of the market and know that it will go up. And so don't panic when it goes down, but you've got to get it in the market to maximize the value on the money that you've saved.
Yeah, that's sound advice, and I want to thank you for sharing such practical action steps. And now, tell me about beyond personal finance and the real life lessons that teenagers learn going through the program.
Sure. So my inspiration was the fun, um, how much fun the game of life is, where it's sort of unpredictable, and you get to choose at the beginning whether you're going to go to college or straight into your career. And then, random things happen to you as you go through life and you end up in retirement. So that was my inspiration. But the game of life is wildly unrealistic. And so many times, with the things that we see in personal finance, even online, they'll just have you do one budget. And so, you feel like, oh, this isn't any big deal, and I'll do one budget and I can afford things. But what adults know is that life is not just one budget. Life is a string of budgets that are tied together. The choices and the money you spend at age 22 either opens or closes the doors for the money that you'll have at age 23, 24, 20, and beyond, right? Each choice leads you somewhere. So this curriculum tries to mirror that real life experience. I started out at age 22, and this is all my videos are recorded online. It can be done self-paced, or I also teach it live via Zoom. But either way, the teenagers start at age 22. They're pretending to be a 22-year-old, and they make choices like what college or career they're going to have. That gives them the income to make the budget choices that they make as a 23-year-old. Then when they're 24, it's time to buy a car. I teach them about buying a car, things that adults need to know, and things that they will need to know one day. But then I turn it over to them and let them choose a car for themselves, given the budget that they have set up and the income that they have. And they begin to see over the course of those 20 lessons their money rise and fall with each choice that they make. And they really understand when it comes time to buy a house, they're like, oh man, I sure do wish I would have bought a cheaper car, had a roommate instead of living on my own. My earlier choices have impacted the amount of money I have to put down on a house. And those real life lessons are ones that you can't lecture these teenagers into knowing. They will see it for themselves on in their own budgets.
Yeah, it's just like teaching a baby how to walk. You gotta crawl before you walk, right?
That's exactly right. And you can't lecture a baby into walking any more than I can lecture you on how to use a piano or money is a tool. And until you see how it works by putting the numbers on a page, you really won't understand. And that's the problem with our teenagers. I mean, we've been lecturing them for years on making wise financial choices, and they still get out in those early 20s and waste money.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell me about the real life benefits that you've seen from people that have taken your courses. Teenagers that take this course that are entering college. I'm thinking of must really benefit from taking this course, huh?
Well, yes. So the first lesson we talk about is colleges and careers. And, I had one student who she was an aspiring writer, and she, as her extracurricular activity in middle school and high school, did dance. And so she had picked a local college that was a private school at $55,000 a year. And of course, in my class, I challenge the kids to, they can pick whatever college they think they want to go to, and then they need to work with their parents to see how much of that tuition and money that the parents are going to help pay. And the rest, I have them take in student loans, because the numbers on scholarships are very clear. It isn't common to get full ride scholarships. So in order to drive the point home, I tell them that they will have student loans if their parents don't cover the full cost. Well, sure enough, this girl, she goes back to her parents, and her parents say, hey, we're not going to pay for a private college when we've got perfectly good colleges in our state. And so she was insistent upon doing things her way, as teenagers are. And she chose this private school in her budget. And for 10 lessons, which represented 10 years of her life, she was paying off that student loan. And so she couldn't make the choices she wanted to make, like the car and the apartment and the house and investing and furniture and all of these. She couldn't make those things because she was sending her money to student loans. And man, of course, they pay off the student loans after 10 years or 10 lessons. in the class, and she was so excited that day. She's like, I hate this student loan. I'm so glad I got rid of it. And now, her dad came in and said, hey, I just want to thank you because my daughter now has discovered that the University of North Carolina, which is right here in our backyard, has an amazing writing program. But my daughter never wanted to look at UNC because she really wanted to go to this private school because of their dance program. And that, this dad is like, you've saved us tens of thousands of dollars just by showing her why that's an unwise choice. I have another student who he's very musically oriented, and he was trying to decide when the choice of career came, whether he wanted to be a composer or an engineer. And so I said, well, why don't we do it both? In the class, do 2 budgets, one as a composer and one as an engineer. And we use real life salary information for both. And he quickly saw 2 or 3 lessons in the financial benefits of being an engineer over a composer. And so he made that decision, and I wanted him to know, hey, there's nothing wrong with being a composer. That's it's a wonderful thing. The world needs music in here. Unfortunately, our world does not value that in terms of financial compensation. But you can still be a composer on the nights and weekends. There's nothing wrong with continuing your love. And if you have that side grind, you could build up your side business to the point where it might replace your engineering day job. But going into your young life with the salary of a composer might not align very well with the life that you've dreamed of. And so in order to have as many choices and opportunities, I encourage students to figure out a way to leverage their talents into a job that will give them enough money to afford to make the choices that they would want to make.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about using your job to finance your dreams, huh?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because if your job does not pay, then those dreams will get quickly squelched because you're grinding away at trying to pay the bills. It's hard to be artistic, and it's hard to have the creative juices flowing when you are worried about living and how you're going to pay the bills till the next paycheck arrives. That's just no way to set your life up.
Mm-hmm. And tell me, I'm also curious and fascinated to ask you, how do you think we can encourage school systems to teach more practical financial advice and put it into a mainstream curriculum? How important do you think that is?
I think it is very, very important that we educate these kids because all of us are going to use money on a daily basis. So knowing how to use it, knowing how quickly it goes and how to manage it and the risks and pitfalls out there is critical. And it's just that so far, those lessons are considered lessons that are based upon judgment and personal preference and should be taught in the home. And that is, there's some validity to that thought, because what I think that you ought to do with your money and how much of it you should save and how much of it you should spend and how much of it you should give away, all of those are personal preferences that vary from family to family. But unfortunately, because we didn't have a foundation, a good personal finance foundation, it's hard for us to teach our teenagers things that we don't really have a firm grasp on ourselves. And so I really do think that we ought to have the school systems step in and begin to educate our teenagers, so that they can be more wise with that first paycheck that they get, and the first credit card that they get, and student loans, and all of those things. The trouble is they need to make it personal and tangible for the teenagers, so it doesn't just feel like a lecture. I know that for my son, some of the material that I put in front of him prior to writing this class, uh, he found it was good information, but he felt like it didn't matter because he was going to have plenty of money. So he's like, well, why do I need to worry about buying a used car? I'm going to be, I'm going to be so rich, I'll buy a new car. And so we can't just lecture about how expensive life is. We also have to show them the realities of incomes, and how much you earn and how much you actually take home. Both sides of the picture is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Practical experience is the best way to learn, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And Charlotte, my final question for you this morning has to do with personal fulfillment and how you define that, and how you want your
Sure.
personal and professional legacy to be defined.
Gosh, this is a great question. I really want to be. I feel truly happy and fulfilled when I am being intentional about the way I spend my time and how I use my talents to help others. Like when I am awake enough to appreciate the moments that I'm given and the opportunities that I'm given, I'm much more intentional with connecting with people. And that is so important. I've had, lots of times where, I got to the end of the day and I was like, gosh, what did I do? What did I say? Did I communicate to these people how, thankful I am for them? And, or did we just kind of waste time talking about the weather and, just stuff that doesn't matter? So I really love to be intentional with my time. And then I believe deeply in helping others, um, live their lives in a way where, if I can be helpful to other people through my experience and my advice and my training, I love to be helpful to others, so that in hopes of, kind of redeeming some of these lessons that I learned the hard way, just, preventing anyone from uh, having to do some of the things that I did financially to dig myself out of a hole would be very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have one final follow-up for you. I don't know if you knew this, but October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and I myself have cerebral palsy, so this is an initiative that's very important to me for obvious
Yes.
reasons. But what are your thoughts on the importance of infusing folks with disabilities in the workforce under the realm of helping them manage their money and making money, and creating generational wealth as well?
Sure. Well, I think we all are inherently driven by a need to matter and make a difference and have a purpose. And I don't think that anyone with disabilities is any different in that desire to give and to use their talents. And so I do think that it is very important for us to integrate people that have different abilities into the workforce. It not only does it empower them and give them the opportunity to use their talents and be useful and have a purpose. All of that is great. It also, of course, gives them money, which is very rewarding in that way. But also it helps those of us who do not have those situations to be more aware and more mindful. There's a guy that I know, and he is one of the sweetest. He is on the autism spectrum, and he's in his 30s, and he loves to work at our local grocery store, and he does a good job. He is perpetually got a smile on his face and welcoming and warm and greeting people. And too much of us are not like that, and he is. And so that matters. That's important for us to see and be exposed to, and to be more aware and compassionate.
Absolutely. And Charlotte, tell me, finally, if people want to get connected with you, what's the best way
Sure.
they can do
I've got a
that?
website where my curriculum is, as well as the opportunity to sign up for weekly content that I create to help parents raise responsible and ready adults. So my website is www.b as in beyond, p as in personal, f as in finance, class.com. www.bpf class.com. And that's the best way. It's my contact information is right there. And I would definitely welcome you guys to take a look around and shoot me any questions that you might have.
Fantastic. Well, Charlotte, I want to thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your Carolina Friday to spend some time with me and answer my questions about personal finance and helping teenagers succeed. Your time, energy, and
Oh,
efforts.
well, thank you again.
Yeah, your time, energy, and efforts on my behalf are most appreciated. And I want to thank you for being here this morning.
I appreciate it. Thank you.